It's so weird, like, not seeing myself. I'm just
No.
sitting here looking at you.
Yep.
I like your shirt.
Yeah, Shein. Few bucks, $4, $5 on Shein.
Yeah, I feel like
My Shein load this past order was bomb. Like almost every single thing I ordered was really cute. The only problem is that a lot of them are like crop toppy, like really crop toppy. And so I can't wear those to the country club because then I'll be frowned upon. I'm going to be that person.
Nick was like, babe, you need to dress a little bit differently for the country club.
There's rules. I don't follow rules. And so we'll just have to go out to dinner other places because
Save them for vacations or date night or just like whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've really been into a romper kick lately. So I just had 4 bodysuits, thank you, show up from Express because they were on sale and it was a great deal. So, and I also feel postpartum, like getting older, my taste preferences have changed and I need to get rid of like 80% of my clothes that I don't wear. And we have a new closet here. So it's just different. Like you go through phases.
It is. Absolutely, you go through phases. And
so your Shein order is cheaper than mine. My Shein
order was $87 and I got 13 things. And almost all of them, like a pair of shorts fit, which I was not expecting. It was an outfit that came together. And I was like, those shorts probably won't fit, but they did fit and they're really cute.
Yeah.
I'm going to wear them for the conference that we're going to this weekend. So Carice, one of our practitioners, and I are going to Peptide Congress, which I am very excited about. It's in Las Vegas, which will also be interesting.
People watching.
Good people time. Watching. It'll be one of the first times I'm going to Vegas and not being debauchery type situation. I mean, Vegas is there's only 2 ways to do Vegas. You either go and it's just you let it all out and it's Vegas and no one judges, or you go and you do something completely different there because Vegas also has really good food and shopping and people watching. So we'll probably be the latter this time because it is long days.
Or it's going to that conference in August there, which we were talking about would be like totally different for him as well because you're there, it's business. I mean, you'll get some good food and stuff like that, but obviously not doing the gambling thing and things like that. I like playing blackjack though. I wouldn't mind playing blackjack.
Yeah, I might play blackjack a little bit. And I'd love to go to the pool because it's going to be like 110 degrees there. Yeah. But also we're inside from 8 to 6. And so like there's a 12-to-1 break. And during that break, the hard thing about Vegas is everything is so far apart. Like you don't realize how far
it's so big.
One hotel is to the next. It's like a mile walk to 2 hotels down, And so it'll be interesting. I'm excited. Warmth. I mean, I love really, really hot weather, so I'm down for that. But yeah, even like going to get lunch because we didn't get the food package because it was like an extra $600 for the 2 days. I was like, no, thank you. So yeah, we'll be venturing off for lunch, and that'll be an hour to like get somewhere, get food, get back. So it'll be not enough time to go to the pool. And I feel like if I'm gonna go to a pool in Vegas, like I want to go to a pool party then. So I'm just going to need to not let myself go to the pool because
it's a little bit different.
Listen, if I had my favorite environment to enjoy and like have fun and drink in, it's a pool party.
Yeah.
In Vegas for sure. Because then I can dance. I love dancing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I've never been to a pool party in Vegas, but I do like when we go to all inclusive, like we just stay in the pool like majority of the day.
Yeah.
And then it's like 5 o'clock and we're like, okay, we need to like go get ready and things like that. One of our clients, one of my gals is there right now. I got a really nice message from her yesterday. She, you know who I'm talking about, but she came in with a lot of gut issues, intolerance to all of these crazy foods, holding on to a lot of inflammation. And over the years that we've worked together now, she's just in a much better spot. And she's like, I feel the best I ever have internally and externally. So really, really excited for her to just enjoy and be. And I was like, girl, you got all the supports with you. Lay at the pool, be in the pool, spend time with your husband. They don't have their kids with them. So yeah, I love warmth too. But all right, let's dive in today. We want to talk about the accumulation effect and the cost of not acting on your symptoms. So, we understand the body a little bit differently, I think, than the lay person who is listening to this podcast. So we just want to, kind of set the precedence here that we're talking about individuals who are struggling with various symptoms and they keep sweeping them under the rug. They keep thinking like this is normal. It's mom life. It's this, stressful season or this time. But at the end of the day, when things are not resolving, you've not identified the root causes. And when I say causes, I mean, a lot of times people will say root cause, but there's multiple causes, right? So it's not just bacteria, SIBO, H. pylori, parasites, whatever. It's not just hormones, estrogen dominance, right? Poor detox, liver, gallbladder, thyroid, stress, adrenals, right? It's not just like one thing. It's how your entire body is working together and the systems that are all at play with, ultimately ending up symptom presentation that you might have, and it's getting worse and worse. And so the cost here is that it gets harder to resolve because it impacts other systems. And the longer that things are, let's say, for example, you have a bucket, right? You have this toxic bucket. And, over the years, maybe starting at childhood, you had a lot of, vaccines, you had a lot of infections, you had a lot of antibiotics, right? You start to accumulate these things in your toxic burden that the body can't keep up with. Then maybe you had a flood in, your childhood home, or there was water damage of some sort, or you traveled and you got food poisoning. A lot of people don't realize food poisoning is a big trigger for, issues and immune system issues. So then we enter into, the years of maybe playing sports or travel sports. And now you're eating on the go, you're in a rush, you're maybe eating more processed foods. You've had a lot of these food dyes and additives and fast food and seed oils. Okay. And then you get to the teenage years like I did and had PMS really bad. So you go on birth control, right? We're just layering it on here, right? And then you go through college. And in college, maybe you're like Liz and Becca and you enjoyed college with some drinks and too many late night. We were talking about this yesterday, La Bamba, the burritos as big as your head, or like garlic knots or whatever that, late night food choice was. And again, you're living in these dorms or living in these apartments that are not good quality air and being cleaned appropriately. And then you get out into the real world and now you've got a job and you're going to happy hour and you're traveling for work and you're, continuing just to accumulate all of these different toxins and environmental triggers into your life. And maybe you're somebody who also is born with genes that aren't really working in your favor. And so you're quick to inflame, you're struggling with metabolic issues, you feel like something's going on in your body and you're going to the doctors and they're not listening. And you keep going and you keep searching and you keep asking for answers, but you're not ever really working with anybody who's identifying root causes and looking at all systems, together. And a big part of this overarching is stress. And so the cost of not addressing these things and not thinking back through what have the last 30 years of my life been like is leaving you now in a place that this gets more expensive and it gets harder to resolve the longer that you wait, not to mention the harder that it is on your body, especially when we think about perimenopause, which I know you're going to touch on, and how that can be rockier when you're going into it in a compromised state.
Yeah. And so there's a book that Liz and I have read called The Immunity Code by Joel Green, and how he refers to this as this like metabolic debt that you're in. So every day you delay focusing on optimization of your health and focusing on removing the inflammatory things and bringing in diversity into the diet and being consistent with movement and exercise. Or if you're really struggling and those things aren't helping you with symptoms, the longer that you allow the gut or the immune system or the cell health, this mitochondria health to be delayed, you accumulate this debt. You accumulate, and the longer you do, the more debt you accumulate. And so it's just these layers that start to happen where the mitochondria that create the energy start to become less efficient, right? And then there's inflammation that starts to build up because the immune system becomes more and more triggered. Those IL-6, the TNF alpha, the CRP markers, these genetic components can start to come into play more for some people than others. You have a decline in the microbiome health and the diversity that's in the gut. You have an increase in this insulin resistance and what we call cellular senescence. And so ultimately what happens is when you have these assaults and these insults to the immune system, because that's ultimately what all of this is. Like when you think about inflammation, it's an insult to the immune system. Inflammation and immune system are basically one and the same. That what do you think is creating the inflammation? The immune system is. They're the same system and the same profile that we're speaking on. And so what happens is that all of these assaults and these insults to the immune system create this inflammatory response. And the way that I explain it is imagine what should happen is say, okay, I have, the way I always think about it is I think of zombies, but like the way because they are called zombie cells. But think about, okay, you have this bowl and the inflammation is these little balls. And so the inflammation gets put into the bowl. And then the immune system should be able to, in a healthy, balanced immune system, it should be able to take the balls out of the bowl. But the problem is the balls just keep piling up. And so you can imagine in your body, these inflammatory cells, these dead, unfunctioning inflammatory cells, these senescent cells are just piling up. And they can't be resolved because the body can't keep up, because there continues to be these assaults and insults to the immune system that aren't being fixed. And so this is why a lot of people, when they like change their diet, things get a little bit better, but then they get worse again, right? You calm down inflammation a little bit. Oh, they try a new supplement. Things maybe get a little bit better. They get worse again because you're not addressing it from all avenues. And that's where having experienced practitioners and people that know how to address really deep-rooted problems comes into play. Like, you need it. A lot of the people that we work with are doing healthy diets and exercise and all of those things. Like, they're doing the basics and the foundations. For those of you that aren't, start there. Like, start with the hydration, start with the consistency, start with those things, because that's going to matter more. But if you do those things and you're still dealing with chronic bloating, brain fog, digestive issues, no libido, no energy, weight gain, weight loss resistance, like all of these other things, diet alone isn't going to fix it. And that's the hard reality that a lot of people you run into when talking to people is like, oh, well, what supplement can I take? Or what should I do with my diet? Or what should I change with exercise? And it's like, listen, you're beyond that. Like, this is a deeper process that needs to be addressed in the right order of function to be able to truly unlayer the dysfunction that is there. And, your immune system becomes really overreactive and maladaptive. And now you're experiencing, bacteria and parasite infections that would have been no problem for an immune system that's healthy and balanced. But these people are so responsive and so sensitive to things because, like you said, their toxin bucket is just so big. And any little thing now is tipping them over the edge. And so the goal is to slowly lower the toxin load, slowly lower that assault to the immune system that it's experiencing via, yes, diet variation, supplementation support, peptide support, whatever it might be. Also maybe mental, emotional, nervous system regulation, environment, right? And evaluating all of those things is really hard for someone that doesn't have a trained eye and isn't educated in this and understanding of this. And I think that's when it comes to our health, I think people feel that because it's their body, they should be able to handle it. Like, oh, it's my health. Like, I should be able to make changes. I should be able to understand. It's not, guys. Like, it's a very complex environment in our bodies internally. And there's a lot of pieces to it. And sometimes even the smartest people, there's a spider from the ceiling right now.
Babe, can you come get the spider?
It's okay. Spiders are healthy for houses, right? So it's one of those things where at the end of the day, you may need someone that is more trained and someone that's going to look at it on a different level than you may be able to. Even and at the end of the day, too, you are the person that's going to be the most emotional. Mm-hmm. And that is something else that can be really hard in terms of getting into healing. And so we wanted to kind of talk about this because I think a lot of people, they want quick results, but you need to really evaluate how much debt you've accumulated over time with how much time you've spent experiencing the symptoms or the worsening of symptoms that you have, or have ignored the symptoms that are going on because maybe they're just not debilitating enough.
Yeah. And I think, too, there can be some fluctuations with symptoms, right? Especially as we think about the cycling female. And again, the years of perimenopause, we're seeing women enter that even, in their 30s. Becca and I have been very transparent about the hormones that we're already taking in terms of progesterone and, testosterone and things like that. And people are like, well, how long do I have to be on it? It's like, well, if you want to optimize, you're going to have to be on some of these things longer term. But short term, in an acute phase, you are going to feel, I tell some of my clients, like, you are going to feel restricted. You are going to feel like this is a lot of work, and you are going to feel like you're on multiple supports because we have to get you out of this place of dysfunction. And I actually had a lady reach out to me this past week who was interested in doing some functional medicine certifications. And she was really against using supplements and all of these things. And I said, I honestly don't think this is going to be the path that you want to go down then, because the true reality is most people are so compromised. To get them through this process faster, you're going to need to layer in some different supports. And that's what we find. Like, I know for my clients, they want to get out of this place as fast as possible. I don't want to be here longer than I have to be focusing on all these things. I want to use the tools that will help me and help my body recover faster. And so we're not saying that everyone has to be on supplements forever, but in an acute healing phase, you probably need to be. But again, going back to what Becca was saying is like, when we're looking at these insults and assaults that are on the system, that's everything that you're doing in your day-to-day life. And so we have to even consider all of the other things that are in like your home environment, your hair care, your skin care. I lathered on Bath and Body Works body spray and body lotion for probably 8 years of my life as a teenager, and then now even somebody messaged me and said, "Oh, I'm surprised that you use perfume." I'm like, yeah, I use Dime perfume because it's not an endocrine disruptor. It's a much better alternative to a lot of the things out there. And we want to feel good. We want to smell good. I'm not going to not do those things, but I am going to search for the alternatives. And so when we're talking about this, it feels like a lot, but the order of importance of the way that we address the body is very strategic. And I think any of you listening who've gone down the route of antibiotics, a lot of times things get worse. And because they are not looking at everything collectively. So I'll give one example of a lady I've been chatting with on Instagram. She's working through a SIBO protocol right now. They did not do any other blood work for her. They did a SIBO breath test. They didn't do any blood work for her. They didn't do another stool test because I said, what else is going on in the terrain? What is happening in the northern part of digestion that's allowing SIBO in the small intestine, this bacteria, to overgrow? What about liver, gallbladder? What about gut lining support? What about stomach acid support? All of these different things. How is this showing up and impacting your hormones? How is it impacting your adrenals? How is it impacting your thyroid? And they're not looking at this. And so you can go through a SIBO protocol. You can take the double antibiotic treatment and you feel better maybe while you're on it, but then you're off, and lo and behold, a couple months later, symptoms are coming back, food reactions are coming back, because you never addressed the underlying root causes, which was not the SIBO and the bacteria there. It's about why these things were allowed to overgrow. And so these things can compile over time. And again, we build up this debt. So I was listening to a great podcast last week. I shared it with Becca and Lindsay, another one of our friends. And it was a podcast. And the host of the show was talking about, she's 42 and she's going through a fertility journey right now. She's been trying to heal for 2 years. And she's like, I've had 40 years under my belt of toxin accumulation, poor genetics, right? Ancestral things being passed down in terms of toxins and mycotoxins and heavy metals and all of these different things that maybe conventional medicine isn't looking at, that she's having to, really walk this journey of healing for the past 2 years. And she's in a much better place, but healing does take time. It's not going to be something that's going to be fixed overnight if it's something that's been ongoing for decades. So think about that today. If you are somebody who's interested in doing a comprehensive lab work and review, that's where we start all of our clients. You can always do that. The link is in the show notes, and you can do a 1-hour call with our team going over your results to understand the patterns and trends. How do this associate with my symptoms? Where should I be looking further next? Because a lot of times we are starting with the gut, but I'm saying to the person, I think a lot of this is hormonal. Becca is the same, right? Or we think that this might be stemming from, poor genetic factors or mold and mycotoxins. Like I just had a client, unfortunately, she had a miscarriage and we were chatting about her thyroid that's just not wanting to regulate. And I said, I really want to do a total tox test on you. We're missing something here. I'm thinking heavy metals is coming to mind. So we get this tox burden test back. Yeah, she's got a lot of heavy metals showing up, but she also had a lot of mycotoxins showing up. On further investigation, they had water damage happen in their house 6 months ago. Everything was quote unquote dried out. That doesn't mean those mycotoxins and mold isn't growing and present in the home. And now it's really impacting her health. And she's having other issues beyond the thyroid stuff and, not showing positive ovulation or surges in LH and FSH that we want to see. She's also having airway issues now and trouble swallowing and inflammation of the esophagus and breathing issues and abnormalities that she's never had before. And so the longer that we wait with certain things, the worse it gets, or there's a triggering event when we were maybe doing really good. And that's like setting us back. And we get it. It's hard. It's challenging. It's frustrating. It pisses you off. You have supplement fatigue or healing fatigue. We get all of those things. But if you don't look at these things and address them and catch them earlier, the healing process becomes longer and longer, and it is exhausting. So links in the show notes. If you need our support comprehensively, we are here to help.